Hello everybody and welcome to Car Confections. Now we get a ton of comments on this channel, and especially when we review any type of electrified model, we get a lot of comments asking the difference between a mild hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and a full electric vehicle. Because if you're not in the car industry, it can be very confusing. Manufacturers use a lot of different jargon to describe what type of vehicle it is, and we're hoping in this video to kind of cut through the BS and tell you guys exactly what the differences between these models are, so you can make an informed decision when you go to buy your next vehicle. So that's what we're going to get into today, so let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so let's get started here. We're going to begin with what a hybrid model is. Now, hybrid is kind of the most basic form of this. This is the thing that's been around the longest. This technology was first mainstreamed by Toyota when they introduced the Prius, which came to the US in 1997. So it's been around for quite a while at this time. But really now it's starting to hit its stride nowadays because a lot of models are going to have hybrid variants that you can pick to buy. Yeah, for instance, in the all-new Honda CR-V, if you choose a sport trim level, you actually get the hybrid system as standard. So you might be curious, what does that actually mean? Well, let's get into that. So in essence, what a hybrid is the traditional gas engine that you've had in your vehicles for a long time, but it's also going to have some extra elements added in there. You're going to have a small battery pack, typically about 1 kilowatt hour in size, as well as an electric motor. And what this is able to do is basically take care of low-speed driving, as well as like idling and that type of thing that typically requires the engine to be running. It will allow the engine to go ahead and turn off, and the battery will take care of those duties. Now, what is the benefit of this system? Well, frankly, it's just to get better fuel economy and dramatically better fuel economy. So you can see huge improvements when you switch to a hybrid over a traditional gasoline model. For example, a Toyota Camry, the gas-powered model gets 32 miles per gallon combined, which is fine. But if you get the hybrid version, you get 52 miles per gallon combined. That's a 47% improvement in fuel economy. That's because you're keeping that engine off as much as possible. So if you're in a drive-through at Chick-fil-A, for example, you could go through the whole thing without using any gasoline at all, and it will take care of all that light accelerating as well as climate control during that time. Now, what do you have to do as an owner of a hybrid? That's probably what you're curious about, and nothing. Really, a hybrid is just the benefit of fuel economy. All you have to do is fill the car up as usual. You don't have to charge the vehicle or anything like that, and you really benefit from that fuel economy savings because the battery will actually charge when you're braking. Has something called regenerative braking, and it goes ahead and charges the battery pack when you're braking and doing traditional driving, so you don't have to do anything at all with the traditional hybrid. I took off from that stop sign there, and I've been accelerating this entire time under EV power. You can see the little symbol right there in the gauge cluster. So right now the battery pack and the electric motor is what's powering us down the road. Now once I pick up speed here, you're going to see that the gasoline engine is going to take over because that is how a traditional hybrid operates. And there it goes. So now the gasoline engine is on for that higher speed. But as I slow down again, you'll see that the electric motor will take over again. So this is basically how a hybrid system is operating. But you saw the title, what is a mild hybrid? And no, it's not talking about how spicy the battery pack is in the vehicle. It has something to do with the overall performance of the hybrid system. Yeah, I'm not really sure where the name came from, honestly, but mild hybrid is basically a toned down version of the main hybrid system, which we were just talking about. This is going to take an even smaller battery pack and an even smaller electric motor and combine that with a traditional internal combustion engine. Now, the big thing that distinguishes a mild hybrid from a hybrid system is the fact that this will never propel the vehicle forward. All it can do is power some electronics, allow for advanced auto start-stop, things like that, but it cannot actually make the vehicle accelerate on its own because it is a very small system.
Yeah, actually, in regards to the size, it's typically about a half a kilowatt hour battery pack as compared to 1 kilowatt hour or 1.5 kilowatt hours with a traditional hybrid system. Now, you may be wondering, what's the benefit of having a mild hybrid? Well, pretty much it does also land in the fuel economy department, but it's not as big of a benefit as a traditional hybrid would be. Typically, mild hybrids will increase the fuel economy about 2 to 3 mpg as compared to that 47% improvement that we saw in a traditional hybrid model. Now, additional benefits include just the auto start stop system being able to stay off for longer. So if you have a newer vehicle, you might have noticed that it actually does have an auto start stop, and when you come to a red light, the engine will turn off. You might have noticed that it'll turn back on in about 10 seconds or so on a hot day because the engine has to power the air conditioning and make sure it's cool. A mild hybrid will be able to allow the engine to stay off longer and power those electronics, so you're going to be saving more fuel that way. Additionally, it does also make your auto start stop system a lot smoother, so you're not going to feel as much of a jar when the engine turns on and off.
Right, because many of these systems can operate where they turn the engine off before you've completed your stop and also help the engine as you're taking off from a red light. This does have a mild hybrid system, so one thing I want to point out is that we're going almost 50 miles an hour right now and the engine is off.
Yeah.
So when you're coasting or low loads, the engine can shut off. As you come to a stop, it'll also shut off, and that's going to be something that really impacts your fuel economy. So before you even come to a stop, it'll go ahead and power the vehicle off. That helps you not feel anything on the way down speed, and then
it's so smooth. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And lastly, for mild hybrid, what do you have to do? Again, this is going to be something that you do nothing at all. You may not even notice you have it on the vehicle. It is going to be able to self-charge itself as you drive throughout the day.
If you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now, what about the other end of the spectrum, the plug-in hybrid vehicle? So as the name would suggest, you do have to do something with this one. It's not a completely hands-off system, which Drew will talk about in just a little bit. But a plug-in hybrid is pretty much a vehicle that has a traditional gas engine, but you also have a larger battery pack than a traditional hybrid, and it's also going to have a larger electric motor. To be specific, a plug-in hybrid typically has a battery capacity size of about 10 kilowatt hours to 20 kilowatt hours. So we're talking 10 to 20 times bigger battery size than a traditional hybrid model. Now, what's your benefit when it comes to that? Well, that means that you can actually drive the vehicle as a full electric vehicle when you charge it up.
Now, Mason kind of touched into this, but what is the benefit of this system? Well, this system's main benefit is the fact that it can handle all acceleration under electric power. So that's the big difference from a hybrid system, which is going to shut off after you hit a certain speed. So you can make full trips, no matter what the speed is, and keep that under full electric power. Because of that, you have some other benefits. One of those is going to be the fact that in most places, in the US at least, your electricity rate is going to be substantially less expensive than the cost of gasoline. So that's going to save you money every trip you make under electric power. The other benefit of the plug-in hybrid system is that once the battery is depleted, you still have a traditional gasoline engine to fall back on. So once the battery is done, the engine's going to fire up and you'll be able to continue your trip as long as you need to go. So you're not going to be hindered on how far that you can go geographically, and then you can go back home, charge again, and do the whole system again.
This one, as equipped with xDrive all-wheel drive, is sitting at 22 miles on a charge. If you go for rear drive, you get, I believe, 23 miles of electric range. So not fantastic, but it is certainly enough to really take a substantial part of your driving every day if you do short commutes and make it EV. That's really one of the things that we were looking for when we were buying a vehicle, is the electrification aspect, so we can save money on gas. This vehicle does use premium gas, so it's a lot more expensive. And really, we've been impressed. Since we bought the vehicle, I think we're sitting around 65 or 70% of all of our driving is under electric power. We do stay a lot in the city, but because this is a plug-in hybrid, you can do a quick trip somewhere and back and then charge it up in about 2 hours. So in the course of a daytime, you can really do several charges and actually get up to about 40 miles of pure electric range.
Now, if you're very clever, you might have figured out what you might have to do with a plug-in hybrid.
Right.
You have to plug it in. So that's the difference mainly between a plug-in hybrid and a hybrid, is that you actually have to plug it in if you want to maximize that efficiency of using the full electric range.
I will say, have to might be too strong of a word. You don't technically have to, but you should, because you're paying for that big battery pack that's on board on your vehicle, and it's not going to be being able to be used efficiently if you don't actually plug it in at home.
Right, because it does operate as a traditional hybrid, but you do just have that bigger battery pack that you could be using to use full electric power. So that's something worth noting. Now, I want to talk about this because the charging itself might scare a lot of you guys. Plug-in hybrids, because it's not like a full electric vehicle and has a gigantic battery pack, you have a decent sized battery pack. It doesn't take forever to charge. Typically, a plug-in hybrid like the Mazda CX-90 that we're sitting in right now charges from 0 to 100% in about 2 hours if you have a level 2 charger. And you don't even really have to have a level 2 charger. You can just plug it in on a regular household outlet if you don't mind it charging in about 10 hours or so.
Right, most people are going to do this overnight. Now, we might as well go ahead and mention full electric vehicles as well. That's going to be the next step after a plug-in hybrid. Now, we really wanted the video today to be focused on the differences between the three varieties of hybrid. But of course, if you want, the ultimate electrified experience, you're going to go for a full EV, which is going to completely dump the traditional gas engine completely. You're going to just be left with a huge battery pack, which is going to be much, much larger than what you even have in a plug-in hybrid model. And you're going to have one or more, up to maybe 4 electric motors that are going to power the vehicle. And that's going to, require some more infrastructure at your house, probably, to make sure that you can always charge your vehicle fully.
Now, we do also want to go through some situations that we think you guys might be in and go through what would be the best option between these three for those situations. So let's go ahead and start with that. Now, if you're having a daily short commute, so let's say you go to work and it's 10 miles away, and then you come back home and that's another 10 miles, and maybe you go to the grocery store, which is a mile away, so you drive about 25 miles a day. This would be a really prime candidate to have a plug-in hybrid. The reason we say that is because most plug-in hybrids are sitting between 25 and maybe 40 miles of electric range. So if you charge your vehicle every day, you will be able to really do all of your driving under full electrification, which is a very big benefit. You're going to save a lot of money when it comes to gas. As a matter of fact, this is what we've personally opted for. We have a BMW 330e plug-in hybrid, and we do a daily short commute. And I think about 90% of our driving is just under the battery power, which certainly saves us a lot of money because that vehicle does use premium fuel.
Right, and then even when you do tap into the gasoline motor, all that's going to average together. So if you look at it on an average basis, we get something like 60 miles per gallon on a full month of driving the BMW. So it's very impressive for that type of vehicle, which would normally be getting about 25 miles a gallon. Now let's talk about somebody who goes on long trips. Maybe you drive for work, maybe you like to take frequent road trips with the family. Which one is the best option? We would say that hybrid is actually going to be the best option in that scenario. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but if you are not going to be in a situation where you can usually charge the vehicle every 25 to 40 miles, whatever the range is, then at that point, you're actually just going to be moving around extra weight because you have a large battery pack. So in that scenario, you would be getting worse fuel economy with the plug-in hybrid versus the regular hybrid. That's why we recommend the regular hybrid, because that's going to be getting the best fuel economy over that long distance drive.
And lastly, our last scenario will be you're a person that's kind of annoyed by auto start stop. the best option for you there would probably be a mild hybrid, because that really improves on the auto start stop. It does also give you marginally better fuel economy. And, you know, if you're that type of person that doesn't really want any other form of electrification, then the mild hybrid is going to be your best choice in that scenario.
Right. 90% chance these days you're going to be driving off the lot with something that either has auto start stop, and if not, then you might have that mild hybrid, which is a better alternative.
But guys, that's really where we're going to leave off on this video, comparing hybrid versus mild hybrid versus plug-in hybrid, and maybe a slight mention of a full electric vehicle. Certainly we wanted to make this video to make it easy for you to understand the differences between these different types of offerings, and if you did find it helpful, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed down below. By subscribing, you help us to make more videos like this. We have full reviews on the channel, range tests, lots of different things that I'm sure you'll be interested in, so please hit that subscribe button and be a part of our Car Confections family. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, because you do make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.